All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. Today is Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. We normally get together most weekday mornings, 8 o'clock Central. We will not have trainings Thursday or Friday. The next 2 days of this week will resume on Monday. As many of you know, a number of our staff's going to a big conference, and it's called a Creditors' Rights Conference. It's for attorneys and legal professionals, and it is to develop some additional skills and strategies of how to leverage criminal charges against debtors. And so what that means is we provide accounts receivables as part of the Shelf Corporation. Many of our clients want us to liquidate those receivables to turn it into cash. Well, we can do things like report it on their credit. We can sue them, what's called civilly, for breach of contract, but there are some strategies that are aggressive but legal and ethical to actually pursue criminal charges against debtors. So that's frankly why we're not having Zoom Thursday and Friday. Many of us are going to be at that conference. But with that being said, we've got a three-part agenda. Normally we have two. We have a three-part of agenda today. First of all is if you are wanting to collaborate, if you want to help others build financial literacy and increase access to capital, we have a great mechanism to do so. And it's referred to down here. It's called interchangeably being a reseller or being a grant coordinator. It means the same thing. Doesn't cost anything to sign up, not even a contract to sign up. Open for business, should be within 15 minutes, and you can help people and earn a great income. If you're interested in that, you're welcome to help us spread the word, help build financial literacy. You can enroll on 509pacific.org. Once you complete this form, now granted, we are a little bit behind. We've had hundreds of people sign up this week alone. So we're a little bit behind on processing those. But regardless, we will, in short order, get your request processed, which means you'll get an email. The email will have an editable version of the client contract, editable version of this flyer, and one other document. You'll edit the client agreement, take our information off, put yours on, change pricing if you want, and you're ready to sign up clients. So anyone need help getting open for business before we get more into the meat of the matter today? Okay, and I felt like probably everyone was on the same page. But again, if you're not yet a distribution partner but want to be one, no cost, no contract, go over here, fill out the form. We are running a little behind, but we'll get those processed by Monday. All right, so we're going to call this old business. If you remember back when you worked the corporate life, most of us are entrepreneurs now, but if you remember back when you worked the corporate life, Robert's rules of orders. Remember that, where you had to have an official approach, a very structured approach to meetings? Well, old business and a new business. So from an old business perspective, we rolled out what's technically called the 0% sweet pay, buy now, pay later financing program. So this is a new offering. I think we rolled out Monday, if I recall now correctly, 2 days ago. Seems like a year ago, but 2 days ago, we've had hundreds and hundreds of clients enroll. And so what this is it's when individuals want to buy a Shelf Corp from you. Normally what will happen is we'll get them third-party cash financing. So they get money in their pocket, as Ben likes to call their fun money, and then they also have the money to pay you for the Shelf Corp. So that's the way it normally works. On occasion, we'll run into individuals that are not creditworthy enough to get a cash loan to be able to put fund money in their pocket and to pay for the Shelf Corp to pay you. So we needed a solution for that, and so we rolled out on Monday the 0% sweet pay, buy now, pay later financing program. It's a second chance finance program. It's very attractive because, again, you can't get lower than 0% interest. There's no interest on it. Breaks it down over 10 payments and just makes it really affordable. I'm sorry, over 20 payments. The Shelf Corp, over 20 payments. 20 payments of $500 apiece. But from some of you, I think some of you are misunderstanding this. So if there's any questions, comments, concerns, of course, please make sure that you've watched the training from Monday because we spent about 30 minutes taking a deep dive into it. But this is not our first step. Like Rod's mentioning, he's going to run clients through this. No, you're not, Rod. No one is. We need to first get them cash financing offers. They would rather have fund money in their pocket and have the cash to pay you for the Shelf Corp. This is a second chance. This is if they don't get any cash offers, then we can extend this to them. So it's very attractive, but it's not meant to replace getting cash in their pocket. So I apologize if anyone didn't understand that, but I think we covered it pretty well. You may want to go back to our YouTube library and review that from Monday. But are there any specific questions on the 0% sweet pay, buy now, pay later financing program? What we said is if you have any clients that need this, what do you need to do? Text us their name, and in short order, we will then send them this finance agreement. Now, going forward, it's just part of the organic process, right? They fill out the app, they don't get any, if they don't get any cash offers, which doesn't happen very often, but if they don't get any cash offers, then we'll automatically offer this to them. But if you have any past clients or yourself, almost always someone will say, well, what about me? You know, for you or anyone else that didn't get cash offers before, just send us a quick text on the support line and we can get that to them. Christopher's asking how much the sweet pay costs. The sweet pay doesn't cost anything, Christopher. It doesn't cost them anything. What it is it's financing to pay for the Shelf Corp they're buying from you. Remember, Christopher, you're the guy selling the Shelf Corps, not me. You're a reseller. So it's financing for the Shelf Corp. Think about the last time you bought a car. I know I've got a Porsche 911. Several of you do as well. So when you went to that Porsche dealership, and if you financed your 911, what was it? Probably about 180,000, depends on options. You didn't get financing for 180,000, drive off in the car and have 180,000 in the trunk. Oh, the trunk's in the front, called a front. No, you finance it. So this is specifically designed to finance the purchase of the Shelf Corp if they don't have cash offers. And again, I think we did a good job describing it. You may want to go back and see Monday's training. Okay, so let's get into today's topic. So again, for those of you that came in late, no Zoom Thursday or Friday. We're going to that legal conference. It's going to be really, really good, picking up some new strategies, some new processes, but we'll have today's, of course, and then we'll regroup on Monday. All right, so let's talk about timelines. This seems to be the most frequent question we're getting because we took a deep dive yesterday into what is a fundable Shelf Corp. Nothing has changed, but just we went through this flyer and the proposition, and I think it's clear. It's an incredibly good resource for entrepreneurs that want funding but don't have a fundable business. And if you missed yesterday's training, you can go back and see it. So we're not going to go revisit that. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to talk about timelines because I'm getting inundated with questions, timelines. So let's create some space and let's talk timelines. I think to understand timelines, we need to look at milestones or specific events or triggers. So the very first is a client signs, well, we'll say a client buys a Shelf Corp from you, a reseller. So that's where the process starts. Anything before this is what you do. You're out educating, you're out teaching, you're out explaining. That step zero is all about you. A person, a client, a grant participant comes into our world once this has happened. So we're going to call this day one. Because before day one, we don't know who this person is. We don't need to know. You take care of getting them to this point. Now, at this point, they don't need to pay anything down. So no money down. In other words, no out of pocket. Now, some of you are charging clients up front, and that's your choice. You're the reseller. Some of you are charging 1,000 up front. Some of you are charging 5,000 up front. That's up to you. But from our model, we're recommending we don't require any money down, any money out of pocket. So that's on day one. So then what will happen, and I'm going to progress this out. This could happen quicker, but let's just look at it reasonably. So on day two, well, no, we need to go back to day one. Day one, reseller uploads client agreement into portal. Now, if you say, whoa, Tom, what the hell are you talking about? I don't have a portal. Well, do you have any clients? Because if you don't have a client, we probably haven't given you access to the portal because it didn't matter. We have a lot of people, not you all, a lot of people that just talk. And typically the people that do the least talk the most. It's amazing. But if you have a client under contract, then what do you need to do? You need to text us and say, hey, I need access to the portal. I need to upload a client, because we do it at that point. So we'll provide you access to the portal so you'll upload the client deal. So that should also be on day one. I would say once you've done that, text us to alert us. So theoretically, should we know that you've uploaded someone into the portal? Sure, but just text to make sure. How do you text? On the tech support line. Okay, so we're going through the timeline, and I know the timelines that we really need to cover is how long does it take the client to get funding, but if we look at everything chronologically, it'll make more sense. All right, so now it's on us. So we send the finance application to client and copy you, the reseller. So you'll know that we've done that because we've copied you on it on the email. It's going to come from support@guaranteedfunding.org. And then also Madison, our funding coordinator, real person, she's on the training right now. Madison will call client to prompt to complete application. So we've emailed it to them, and then we're going to have a live person calling them saying, hey, thanks for enrolling. Thanks for buying a Shelf Corp from Joey or Susie. She's going to reference the reseller. And you should have received a finance app from support@guaranteedfunding.org. Please complete it so we can get the funding necessary to pay for the Shelf Corp. Now, again, you all are sharp, but some people just lack financial sophistication. It's like, pay for it. I got to pay for something? Well, yeah, assets typically you have to pay for. Now, the great thing is we have a grant that reimburses them for the cost of the Shelf Corp after we've gone through funding. But again, it reimburses after we've gone through funding. So they have no money down, no money out of pocket. They fill out the finance app and we get them offers. So now, let's just say it takes us another day to process. Client receives offers. Now, this is assuming they filled out the app, right? If they don't fill out the app, there are no offers. We're still waiting for them to do that. So they receive offers and we notify you, the reseller. Because what's the point of this first round? We call it first tranche of funding. The point right now is simply to get you paid, so they get them funded so they can pay you for the Shelf Corp. Most people are responsible. The average credit score in the United States is a 714, according to Experian. So most people will get multiple cash offers. Not everyone, but most people will. So if they don't receive cash offers, then we're going to if they do receive cash offers, they can accept one or multiple, and we'll be able to pay those off with the business funding, which we'll get to in a moment. If they don't get any cash offers, then we're going to have to go to day 3, and we'll call this the alternative, is then we'll offer them options to pay you, the reseller, for the Shelf Corp. Now, there's a few different options that we could use, and maybe we should space this out so it doesn't seem so crowded. It's kind of hard to read now. So let's space each of these steps out. So normally they're going to get cash offers. They accept the cash offers that they want. They can accept multiple. But what do we do if they don't get any cash offers? So If they don't get any cash offers, we give them alternatives. And that could be, they could pay you cash, which I know that's not the intent. We said no money down, no out of pocket, but that's with the assumption of with approved credit. So if they don't have approved credit, then we got to look at an alternative. So then they could pay you, the reseller, with cash. We could reapply with a co-signer. That's a very popular option. We could use quick cash to pay for it, or now we have the new option. They could use the 0% sweet pay. So normally they're going to get cash offers because most people have been responsible with their finances. If they've not been responsible, they're not fundable for a personal loan. You might say, well, wait, we're supposed to get them 100,000. Yeah, that's after they have the Shelf Corp, right? When someone has a Shelf Corp that's fundable, now we can use the Shelf Corp and its fundability elements. But if they've not paid for the Shelf Corp yet, no, they don't have it. So if they don't have any cash offers, they can just pay you out of pocket. Some people do that. They could reapply with a cosigner, and it's frankly using that same application. We could use quick cash to pay for it, which we've had separate trainings. If you're not familiar with quick cash, it's on 509, and then trainings are here. Or the sweet pay, which we rolled out on Monday. If you don't really understand it, we talked about it briefly here, and then you can go to the training. All right, so ultimately they need to pay for the Shelf Corp to receive it and to use those benefits. And it's just like anything. If you saw a couch you liked, can you just take the couch home and start sitting on it and watching your favorite sporting events or movies? No, you need to acquire the asset. They need to acquire the asset from you. They can pay for it or they can finance it, and we can get everyone approved now. So the nice thing is, even if they didn't get any cash offers, everyone will have financing available to them through quick cash and or sweet pay. All right, or with the cosigner. So then once so now we're going to go to, let's call it day 4. Now, again, will it always be day 4? Not necessarily. It's the next step because they need to pay for the Shelf Corp. So let's put in a line here. So we're going to say client pays you for Shelf Corp. When I say you, it's assuming you're a reseller or grant coordinator. So I guess we'll restart the calendar now. So this is essentially the timeline to buy a Shelf Corp from you, a reseller. Now we're into phase 2. Now they have the Shelf Corp. They've paid for it. So then we need 7 days to transfer everything to them. And people get frustrated with that, but we've got to work through the federal government to get the EIN in their name, and state government, the business plan, the financial projections. All of this has to take place. So on day 1, though, we will normally send them the 100K of AR. So they'll get that right away. But we need up through day 7 to deliver Shelf Corp documentation. And we'll call this day 1 or 2 because I don't want you to come back and say we didn't do it. But so normally right away, once they've paid, assuming they've paid in full, then we can go ahead, pay in full either out of pocket or using financing. Then we'll get them the 100,000, which is in the contract as promised. And then we need about a week to get the Shelf Corp documentation to them. So we'll call this phase 1, getting them to pay you. Now they've paid you. So now we're in phase 2, which is essentially the delivering the Shelf Corp. Ultimately, people don't really care about that. What they want is phase 3, the funding phase. Now, there's a couple different ways that we can approach the funding phase, but I'll show you what we like to do, but we can make exceptions if they want. So we're going to reset the clock here. So normally what we'd like to do is day one, add trade lines. Now, when I say trade lines, I mean real, legal, usable trade lines, not something that they go buy and that's supposedly going to magically show up under their EIN. We're talking about business trade lines, right? We're not talking about personal. These report under the EIN. So what we normally like to do is add business trade lines, because with that, that's going to give us a strong paydex score, which is the credit scoring algorithm of Dun & Bradstreet, that's going to help us get that full business loan. So this is optional, but we recommend it. So right away. So as soon as they have the Shelf Corp, we're ready now to go ahead and start using the Shelf Corp. It's theirs. It's like if you went and bought the car, once you paid for it, whether you financed or paid out of pocket, now it's yours to drive. It's now yours to use. That's the way assets are. Once you acquire the asset, it's yours and you can use it. So normally we like to do this first, and then right after, then we can go ahead and apply for the large business loans. Now, the client's always right. So if the client says, no, I don't want to add any trade lines to my Shelf Corp, okay, then we can go ahead and go right to this step. It's just not advisable, because when we add trade lines, and what are examples of trade lines? Charles is asking. So examples would be business credit cards, business lines of credit, business automobiles. Those are the main types. So normally we can mix and match whatever they want. So if they say, no, I don't want any trade lines, great, then we'll skip it. We'll go right ahead. Best practice, though, is to add trade lines. So that way the business credit profile looks stronger and we're going to better qualify for large loans. So when we get back to the timeline, which is really our discussion here, so there's phases. First, they need to buy the Shelf Corp, and which means get the financing, and then they need to actually pay you for it. And then we go into the funding phase. Now we can use, in other words, we can use the Shelf Corp because now it's theirs. People will ask real specific questions on timelines. Well, how long does this take? 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 Well, I'll give you roundabouts, but you got to understand there's third parties involved, right? Because we're not the business credit card issuer. And so some people get all offended as soon as they see this, like, oh, this is about stacking credit cards. No, it's about having a fundable business and getting typically these large term loans, normal big loans. But these are nice attributes that the client can benefit from that strengthens the business credit profile, so we can better qualify for this. But back to timelines. Business credit cards, normally we're seeing 7 to 10 days, and then those business credit cards in your pocket. And I do this, and this is a horrible example, but I have like my Chase business credit card. It says Chase Business Unlimited, $50,000 access line. And here, I'll tap it against the microphone. Hear that? That's, so they're real. They're real business credit cards that clients have and can use. Those typically take 7 to 10 days. Lines of credit, about the same. But again, I don't want you to hold me accountable, because I'm not the one issuing business credit cards. I'm not the one issuing business lines of credit. But since I'm getting asked repeatedly, what's the timeline? What's the timeline? I'm doing the best I can to give you the norm. Business automobiles, really same day. I mean, we can go look for a car. We've got the business lenders, so that this one is the quickest. So you can be driving your new business vehicle same day. As far as turnaround for the loans, it varies, right? Because there's different types of loans. And so what are the variables? What are we going to use it for? I guess that should have been capitalized. Are we using it to acquire another business? Are we using it to buy real estate? Is it just a real simple working capital loan? Those things, those variables, and we can do any of those or any combination of those, but those affect the timeline. We do have a couple, especially some express SBA lenders that'll fund in a couple days. We have some that'll fund in around 15 days. And if it's a really large deal, it could take longer. So obviously, we have the economic incentive to get clients results as quickly as possible. But I think what you're going to run into, or at least I am, especially lately, as people are feeling a crunch. What's the timeline? What's the timeline? Well, it's more complicated. First, they need to buy the Shelf Corp from the reseller. In other words, get financing for it. Then they need to pay the reseller, and we need to deliver the Shelf Corp, which takes right at a week. And then immediately afterwards, we can go into the funding phase. How long is that going to take? Well, we're in it immediately. It just depends upon how we're going to use the Shelf Corp. All right, so let's get over to your questions, comments, concerns at the bottom of the page. This is our phone number. I love when people say, I can't get a hold of you, anyone. Well, that's bullshit. Our phone number is answered live. We have 4 to 5 receptionists staffed every day during office hours. I had a guy this morning calling from South Africa at 2:30 in the morning, local time. No one's answering the phone 2:30 in the morning. That's not the way normal businesses run. So you can leave a message 24 hours a day, but phones are answered live Mondays through Fridays, office hours. Best thing to do is to text. You want to schedule. People say, oh, I don't know how to schedule. I don't know what else I can do. It's here in front of you, calendly.com, 4-week funding. If you need quick cash, you can get on 509. If you need to become a reseller, 509, past trains. All right, so now let's get over into your questions, comments, concerns. And again, no Zoom Thursday or Friday this week. Let's see. Natasha's asking about the guaranteed 100,000. So that's correct. We guarantee a minimum of at least 100,000. So that's a promise. That's a commitment, Natasha. And we can start working on that once we get to phase 3, right? Because if they've not paid you yet for the Shelf Corp, then we're not working on the file, right? And so once they've paid you for the Shelf Corp, we need 7 days to get all the documentation in their name. Then we're in the funding phase. So everybody would just like to go right to phase 3, but they need to pay you first, and then we need 7 days to implement. So essentially, on the 8th day, we can start using it. Hopefully that makes sense, Natasha. All right. Jordan asked about cash offers. So, going back to the cash offers, most people will get multiple cash offers. If they've not been responsible with their credit or their money, they may not. No one's left behind. We got these 4 different options. Jordan's question is, what if they get approved for some but not all? Well, then we can use any of these for the rest of it. It's okay. Clinton's asking a good question about people that have bought a Shelf Corp in the past. Yeah, so if they bought a Shelf Corp in the past, we need to be down here, Clinton, in phase 3. We don't need to be worried about phase 1 or phase 2 anymore. So, Clinton, I think you're misunderstanding. If someone's already paid for the Shelf Corp in full to the reseller, we need to be in phase 3. We don't need to go backwards. Didn't make sense. If you already bought your Porsche 911, you don't go back to the salesman and say, I need to give you some more money. You want to go drive and enjoy it. Take advantage of that asset. All right, so let's see here. Anthony's asking about quick cash. Yeah, so quick cash we can transfer normally. We'll get the AR transferred in 24 hours. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. If we get real busy, maybe it lags a bit. But answer your question is, Anthony, normally we try to get the 10,000 AR transferred in 24 hours. Jonathan said didn't understand about the reimbursement. So we applied for a grant and we reimbursed the cost of the Shelf Corporation after they bought the Shelf Corporation, of course, after we've gone through the funding phase So I guess we'll just add this. That'll make it easier for Jonathan and everyone else. So phase 4, grant, I guess we got to put it all caps, grant reimbursement of Shelf Corp purchase price. So this is kind of the end of the cycle. Once we're done with the funding phase, they have their money, they're happy, they're inviting you to their family events and whatever, and then we are able to reimburse them for the cost of the Shelf Corp. That makes sense, Jonathan? Let's see. Yeah, so the 100,000 guarantee is number one in writing with no strings attached, other than the client just needs to enroll and participate. So if they start with shitty credit or yeah, there's not a bunch of what ifs. We promise anyone that purchases a Shelf Corp from you and goes through the funding process that we'll get them at least 100,000. That's a promise. All right, hopefully that makes sense. As far as the amount of funding, and that's kind of Eduardo's question, we'll work with them to raise as much as they want. The more, the better, right? Now they need to pay it back. It's debt that they got to pay someone. All capital raised is considered part of the capital raise. You as the reseller are paid 5% of all of their capital raise. So let's say they went and got where were we down here? A line of credit. So Eduardo's asking, does he get 5 points off that? Yeah, you get 5 points off of all capital raised. Let's see. Michael's asking more about phase 4. So phase 4 happens automatically. There's no hoops to jump through, and we reimburse directly to the client. So that'll never be a problem. Jonathan says service is phenomenal. Thanks. Michael says he can't wait to get started. Well, I don't know what you need to get started, Michael, because you should be a reseller. If not, you can sign up here and you should be open for business, Michael, in 15 minutes. So anyone that says that they're waiting to get started, it's most likely you that's the barrier, not us. And let's see if there's any other questions that are not duplicative here. All right, Christopher, we'll close on this. So Sweet Pay, which we had a separate training on Monday, you can go back and view it. Sweet Pay is a unique vehicle, and it will fund only the cost of the Shelf Corp, only $10,000. And so Christopher's question is, as a reseller, what if he's selling the Shelf Corp, let's say for $15,000? What's he going to do? Because Sweet Pay is only financing $10,000. That's right. So you'd have a couple options as a reseller if they need to go to Sweet Pay. You could have a separate deal where they're paying you outside of the Sweet Pay. You could defer it and collect from them after they get funding, or whatever you want to do with them directly. But that is a good point, Christopher, and I did bring that up on the training on Monday, is one of the downsides of the Sweet Pay, it's guaranteed approval, everyone's approved, it's 0%, it's easy to get, it's convenient, but it's a flat 10,000, which is enough to cover the Shelf Corp. So anything that you're wanting on top of that, you'll just need to work with the client, either to collect from them up front or later. That would be up to you. But most people aren't going to need Sweet Pay, right? Most people are like you, Christopher. You've managed your credit, you've managed your money. Most people will fill out the finance app. They'll get multiple cash offers. They'll get more than enough to pay you for the Shelf Corp, plus they'll have fund money in their pocket. In other words, working capital. So that's the way it normally works. What I don't want us to think is, oh, all we're going to do is Sweet Pay. This is a safety net for people that have not been successful in managing their credit and money. All right, well, if there's anything else you need, let us know. The best way to reach us is the support line, and we'll be back Monday morning for the next Zoom. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Sorry for running long. Bye-bye.